Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Craig. I'm on a team with Ollie and Naomi. This is our project. We're part of Team Decomposing Worms, and we built a library database. The idea behind this database is to create a functioning library that keeps track of patrons, books, different genres, and authors. So hopping right into it, we have our EER diagram here, beautifully designed by Naomi. So jumping into it, our main table here is going to be our book table. Has a primary key of the ISBN, takes in a book title, an author name, the quantity, the genre, the age rating, book description, and cost of the book. Each book can have an author. So the author table has the author ID, the author name, biography, date of birth, and date of death. And it's tied to the book author table, which basically takes in the author ID and the ISBN. Books also have genres. Genres have a genre ID and then the genre itself, and they're tied to the book genre. And that's how I actually tie it to the book. That's with genre ID and ISBN. Next up, books can have individual copies, and that's seen in book copy here. Book copy has a primary key of the book ID for the individual book. It also takes in the ISBN, the condition, the checked out by, the date checked out, and the renewals left. Over here we have patrons. Patrons have a library card ID. They also have a first name, last name, email address, phone number, street address, zip code, state, username, and birth date. Patrons also can place holds on books, and that's using the hold patron book table. They have a library card ID and ISBN, and then finally the date held. And lastly, patrons have login information. They take in library card ID, username, and they can set up a PIN. Here we have our table of contents that we're going to be going through. So jumping right in, let's show off how we create a new patron. So I'm going to jump over here into SQL Workbench. Let's go ahead and comment out this code that I wrote. So, excuse me, we're going to jump right into patron using first name, last name, email address, phone number, street address, zip code, state, username, and birth date. There are values down here, and then we're going to select everything from the patron table. Here's our new patron. As we can see, we have a library card ID of 10003. We're going to update this in our code later for our demo. But essentially, here is our patron table now. We can create as many of these as we want to. So let's say if we want to make another one, let's do Matthew Craig. And then we can kind of fill in whatever we want here. Say Matt, and we'll say this is 9, and we'll change the address a little bit. We can change this to the username to make that slightly different. And then, yeah, let's change that up. We can create a new patron. And showing off, we now have our new patron with his own library card ID number. Coming back to our PowerPoint, we can also add a new book to our database. This is actually pretty easy, but we're going to be missing some data that we're going to put in later. So showing them off, let's put this back into comments, and let's insert a sample book. So I've chosen to insert one of the Harry Potter books, my personal favorite, actually. So we're going to do the ISBN, the book title, the age rating, and the cost. And we're going to call our first stored procedure, which is show book details. And we're going to show off the code for this a bit later, but essentially it takes in the ISBN up here, and we're going to be able to create this book. So starting off, we have this ISBN, we have the book title, the quantity, the age rating, and the cost. Everything else is null because we haven't quite put that in there yet, but with this, we have our first sample book. Let's go ahead and comment this back out so we don't add it again on accident. And jump back into our presentation. Now we have a book. We can also create an author. We're going to use another stored procedure for this one called create author. So let's uncomment this. This is create author. Takes in the author name, the biography basically, the date of birth, and the date of death, which in this case is null because J.K. Rowling's still alive. Let's go ahead and show this off. We can see we have an author ID now, an author name, a biography, date of birth, and date of death, which is null. And now that we have our author inside our author table, our next step is going to be to actually assign it to a book. So we have a stored procedure here called assign author to book, which takes in the ISBN number and the author's name. So come over here. Let's go ahead and call this. So now we can see we've assigned this author to this book, and then we're calling show book details again. So we can actually see that we have the author name, the biography, and the date of birth here. So with that, we have most everything that we need. The only thing we're missing now is the genre. So to add a genre, another stored procedure, pretty easy. We're going to add a ISBN, same one as before, and then also the name of the genre that we're trying to add. So jumping into here, let's go ahead and do that and add it. And now we can see that we have everything filled up here, plus at the very end, kind of getting cut off a little bit, is the genre, which is going to be fantasy. And that's how we add the genres to our book. And so now show book details is going to show basically everything that we need. So let's go ahead and comment this out and continue moving on. So now that we have an individual book, we can also start adding copies to the book. And essentially what this is going to do for us is allow us to have copies that our users can actually rent out. Because before, we're basically saying that in our database, we have this sample book. You know, we have Harry Potter and Half-Blood Prince. We have Harry Potter and whatever. We have Lord of the Rings book 1. We have, you know, whatever. When we actually create book copies, we're creating available copies that our patrons can now come in and say, I want this book. I want this one. I want this one. And the librarian can essentially give out that copy of the book, hold on to the ID of the book, and so when patron 1 comes back in, returns their copy, it won't accidentally credit it to patron 3. It'll help us with tracking fines later. That's essentially the basis of it. So let's jump right into creating book copies. We're using a simple insert statement. So we're going to insert into book copy using the ISBN and the book condition. Running this, it's going to give us that. And let's check out what we're working with here. So let's go ahead and write a select statement. I'm going to comment this out real quick, and I'll run my select statement. So first off, let's select all select all from book copy first, just to kind of show what's going on. So here is our book copy table. We just added these 3 new books, and they're all book condition new. They're not checked out by anyone yet, so basically checked out by is null and date checked out is null. They each have 3 renewals left because they haven't been renewed. And we see the book condition, ISBN, and the book ID. So this will be important for us a bit later on. Let's go ahead and, oh, one more thing. Let's also show off the book because something happened here as well. So now with our book, we see that we have a quantity of 3 and available of 3. So with this, we have 3 total book copies, and all 3 are available because no one's actually rented one out yet. So that is pretty cool. Let's comment that out. So now we can show off checking out books. So first off, let's check out our book copy. This is just going to select the table that we grabbed before. Yep, so we have our 3 book copies here. This is before we check out. So let's go ahead and check out the book. To do that, we're going to use our patron ID from earlier plus the book copy number. So let's go ahead and check out 40 for this demo because that's an easy number to remember. So 40. Running this, we're now going to see nothing happens because we don't actually have a select statement up. So let's go ahead and do that and pull up this select statement. So now we can see that book 40 is checked out to by user number 10003, and it was checked out on today's date at today's time. It's about 4:30 right now, and that lines up with our database. So we can see that they have 3 renewals left. It was checked out here. We see the book ID that belongs to them, the ISBN, and whatnot. So this patron is now assigned this book, and we did that using our checkout book stored procedure, which I will show off later. Once a patron has checked out a book, they can also return the book. So let's jump into that. Returning the book is just as easy. We have a stored procedure called return book, where we just pass it the book ID that we want to return. So we're going to give it back 40, and then we're going to do a select statement this time so we can see what happens. So we go from checked out by, checked out dates, and then after returning it, we can see that this goes back to being 3 available and 3 there. And then if we do from book copy, we can see that checked out by and checked out date go back to normal. I actually don't think I showed it previously, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I'm going to check out the book real quick. And we can see, when we check out a book, it also says available too. So now we've checked out a book, there's one less available, and that shows here. And then if we return the book, it'll update that back to 3. Let's go ahead and comment this out. For our next demo, though, I actually do want it checked out. So let's go ahead and grab that. All right. So now that we have a book, I rechecked out the book. So now we have a book checked out. We can renew it up to maximum of 3 times. So what a renewal does is basically resets the date checked out so that the patron can rent it out for so long before they need to pay the fines on it. So showing that off. Let's see. We can grab that. Checked out book is a... Wait. Oh, sorry. Hold on. We actually don't need that. We need to just call it a renew book copy because I already checked it out. So let's call the renew book copy. Here we go. And we are going to renew book number 40. And let's check that book. Great. So now that we've renewed it, we can see that it is null, essentially. So I'm actually going to rewrite another select statement. Let's select all from book copy. Let's do it that way. And then we're going to comment this out because we already renewed our book. Hold on one second. Oh, here we go. Sorry, my apologies. So yeah, we can see that it is still checked out by this user. The renewals are going to go down each time that we call renew book, and it's going to reset the date to checked out. So we got 3352. Let's do our last renew, and we can see it's now at 3408, and we have no more renewals left. So that's the final time that we can renew our book. Lets the librarian know, hey, they can't renew it. It's time for them to return the book. So let's go ahead and comment that out. And let's comment that out. Each time that we renew it, the counter goes down. But when we return the book, it also resets the counter back to 3, which makes sense because we don't want the next person to be affected by the previous patron's renewals. So let's go ahead and show that off. Let's go back up to return book. We're going to return it. And then we can show off our book down here. Select all from book copy. And running that, we can see that it was returned. The renewal counter went back to 3, and the date checked out and checked out by went back to null. So that's how we can renew books, check out books, and return books. Let's comment that back out. As we mentioned earlier, there is a fine system. So let's go ahead and show that off. Basically, we're tracking fines using the price of the book and the date checked out. So let's go ahead and show that off. First up, in order to show it off, we need to make the book copy actually overdue. So let's first go ahead and fix this code because we need a book ID of 40 for this demo. And we're going to have to check out the book. So let's go ahead and make them check out 40. So let's set this to 103 and let's set that to 40. We can now see nothing because I actually don't have a select statement up. So let's go ahead and do our select statement. Select all from book copy. And we can see that now the date checked out is back in 10/21. And essentially what that means is this book is now really overdue. And so we're going to show kind of the repercussions of that here. If we call... We actually have 2 here, so let me show off the first one. This one is going to grab all patrons with overdue books. So, because we don't have multiple here, it's not going to show it, but this will essentially grab every single patron. If we had multiple with overdue books, it would show it here. It gives us their patron name, patron ID, the book that's overdue, the specific book ID that's overdue. It shows the date checked out and then the total fine that they owe for being this late. And our other one is, we're going to give it this one. This one actually allows us to select the patron specifically that we want to see. So let's say Ellie was coming in and we want to see how much does Ellie owe in total. We can do that using this one. So let's go ahead and select this one. And it's going to say, hey, for this patron, they owe this much. So this one would be more used for someone's trying to pay off their fines. We'd select this, we get a total amount due, and that's that. So let's comment this one back out. I'll show this off. Once we return a book, the fine is removed. Because once we have the book back, there's no need to fine the patron. So let's return the book of 40. And then let's call our stored procedure to actually get the books with fines. So once we return the book, this went away, and that was that. We can also place holds on different book using our stored procedure place hold. So place hold is going to take in the patron ID and then also the ISBN of the book that you want to hold. So showing that off, let's add a hold and then view book holds. So our first stored procedure here is place hold. We're going to grab the patron ID and then the ISBN that we want to store, and then we're going to view the book holds essentially to show off the table. So view book hold shows us the library card ID, the first name, the last name, and the date held for this individual book. So essentially, when the library goes to, let's say, check out Harry Potter, they would run the ISBN through this command, and then they would see, yep, there's a hold on it, so maybe we shouldn't give out this book. It's not mandatory, so essentially you can still check out the book to someone if you want to. It would just let them know that, hey, there is a hold on it, so the decision is up to the librarian ultimately. Let's go ahead and comment that back out. We can also remove a hold once you place it on there. We just need the patron ID and the book ID of the hold that we want to remove. So let's go ahead and call that. We have another stored procedure here of remove hold. Which again takes in the patron ID and then the book ID. And so now our book holds are empty because we removed the only one that we had in there. So that's that. Let's go ahead and comment that out. Also, users can create and modify their pins for when they want to log in eventually to our website. We have two commands for that. We have setup login and change pin. So let's go ahead and show that. So let's fix that to that. First time setting up login, they don't have a pin, so we're going to add the patron's library card ID and then the pin that they want to create, and that'll set that up. Later on, if we want to change the pin, we're going to need three pieces of information. First off, we're going to need the library card ID, we're going to need the pin that they input previously, and then also the new pin that they want to change it to. We're grabbing the old pin just for security reasons. Essentially, when they fill out this form, they'll have to type in their old pin to make sure it's them, and then finally they can insert a new pin. So doing this, and we are able to change the pin. I suppose it should be stored here, so let's do select all from login information. There we go. So if we select all from login information, we can see the library card ID and then the new pin that it was updated to. So if we want to change this, let's say we want to get 6678. Run that. And this would have to be 5678. So we can see that we actually have measure security. It won't work if our old pin is inaccurate. And since we inserted the old pin correctly, it will let us update it. So now we have 6678. And that's how changing the pin works. Finally, we can grab all the available books in our database. This is helpful if a librarian is trying to give recommendations and wants to know what is available. So we can do that using select all from available books. And this is actually our view. So it's going to grab the book title, the ISBN, the age rating of the book, the cost, the available quantity, the quantity total, the genres, and the authors. Because there's nothing checked out, these two match. If there was stuff checked out, it would not match. This would be 2 or 1 or 0, whatever is available. Besides that, let's go ahead and comment that out. That's it for that section. Moving on to our actual create table statements. I'm going to kind of quickly run through each one because I don't think I'm doing super great on time, so let's keep moving through. Our first one here is our author table. The table stores information about the authors. It has columns like author ID, author name, the biography, the date of birth, and then date of death. The author ID is the primary key here. That's the author table. Moving on to the book table. This one contains details about our books in the library system. It contains columns like ISBN, book title, quantity, age rating, book description, and cost. The primary key here is ISBN, which makes sense because that's uniquely identifying the book. Moving on, we have book author. The book author table uses ISBN, author ID, and this one is basically allowing us to assign the author to a book, essentially, is how we're doing it. This is book copy table, one of the most important tables in our book, which is why it's a bit longer than the rest of them. The book copy table is taking in a book ID, an ISBN, the book condition, checked out by, renewals left, and then date checked out. This book copy is essentially how we're storing our individual copies of our book. So we can have a book in there, like Half-Blood Prince, and we can also have individual versions of it that patrons can check out. And this is the code to do that. Moving on, we have the book genre table. Book genre takes in the ISBN, the genre ID, and that's pretty much it. These two are allowing us to combine or to add the genres from our genre table to the book that we want to assign it to. So we can have fantasy, adventure, whatever else actually assigned to a book, because books can have multiple genres, and then the book genre table allows us to do that. Finally, here's the genre. This is how we're actually creating the individual genres. So we use fantasy in today's example. And so we assigned fantasy and then gave it an ID, and then we were able to assign that ID to the table. This is hold patron book. This one takes in the library card ID, the ISBN, and the date held. This allows us to do the holds on the book, which essentially serve as recommendations to the librarian and aren't exactly like limiters on what can and can't be checked out. Just useful information for the librarian to help them make the decision to check out a last copy. Moving on to login information. It takes in the library card ID and the PIN number. We use this basically eventually to allow users to log in, to track what books they have checked out, to track all sorts of stuff. If we were to expand on this in the future, we'd add more stuff for like a profile and stuff. But for now, this is how we're doing our login system. Here's the patron table. This is probably, I think, the biggest table in our database. The patron table takes in a library card ID, the first name, the last name, the email address, the phone number, street address, zip code, and finally a username. All this information is used to track individual patrons. If they have fines, we can send them the fines. If we need to contact them for whatever reason, we can. We have their street address and zip code if we need to send them anything. It basically allows us to track everything that we need to know about our patron. Down here, this looks kind of funny with our constraints, just because I grabbed this code straight from the SQL table, so it's going to store it a bit differently than we actually typed it. Our library is based in Washington, and so we chose this constraint here to make sure that the state is actually matches Washington. This email address, I know it looks kind of funny, just making sure that it has an at and stuff before and after the at. And then finally the phone number, just to make sure that the phone number is like valid pretty much. Here we go. And that was those are our tables. So moving on, we have our functions. So this is get total fines for the user. Sorry, my mic was cutting out there for a minute. Yeah, this is how we're creating get total fines for the user. Essentially, it's grabbing the library card ID because we want to view the individual library card user essentially. And then we're going to grab the sum of the total fines and then return that. This one's pretty simple. It's literally just grabbing one user's total fines and then returning it. This one is not too bad. We're going to move on to triggers. Sorry for the bit of a jump. Let's go over triggers. So we actually are only using two in our database. The first one is going to help us with book copy when we check out and return a book. So this first trigger is called after checkout update availability, and it does pretty much what the name suggests. It's going to start by, it's only going to fire when a book is checked out. So when it changes from null to a value, it's going to update book, and it's going to set available to -1. So essentially, when a book is checked out, it's going to subtract the available by 1, and that's it. It's pretty simple and works surprisingly well because when one book is checked out, available decreases by 1. After return, update availability actually does the same thing. It's just going to increase it by 1 when a book is returned. I use this least, though, because it's going to cap it at the quantity, like the total quantity. Before, the issue I was having was I could return the same book like 17 times, and it would just keep increasing the available. So I have like 18 copies available and only 3 total copies in our system, which didn't make a lot of sense. So I ended up changing this to make sure that it caps it at the quantity. That's what this least is doing here. Both pretty much end up working about the same way. I have a bunch of stored procedures and about a minute, or I think 3 minutes to go over them all, so let's move pretty quickly. Create author. Checks if an author exists in the table. If it does not exist, it takes in its values here and creates the new author. Assign author to book. Basically used to assign the author to a book. It checks, make sure that the author is in the author table. If it is, it's going to grab the author ID and then actually insert it into the author name, essentially, or into author using author name. That's that. Next up, add genre to book. This procedure is going to check if the given genre already exists in the genre table. If it doesn't exist, it's going to insert into the genre table and retrieve the new genre ID. After ensuring the genre exists, it inserts into the genre ID and the ISBN using the book genre table. And then this will essentially link the genre to a book for us. This is checkout book that we're using. This procedure handles the checkout process of a book. It updates the book copy table, setting the checked out by field to the provided library card ID, and also sets the date checked out to the current date and time using the now feature that SQ has built into it, which is pretty nice. Did I miss one? That was return book. Oh, here's return book, sorry. Okay, return book actually works very similarly. It's going to grab the ISBN, and it's going to say, okay, set the date and the checked out by to null because the book is back in, and that is that. Next up, renew book. This procedure checks in the current number of renewals available for a book by looking at the renewals left in the book copy field. If there are renewals left, it'll set the current date to now, and then set the renewals left -1. So date checked out to now, and then set it to -1. And then if we try to do it with, if we try to renew a book, with no renewals left, it's going to throw an error and then let us know down here that we can't, that there's no renewals left for the book. Get patrons with overdue book fines. This is the one that grabs everyone. So it's going to use join statements to grab everyone. This procedure retrieves a list of patrons who have overdue books by joining the patron, book copy, and book tables. It filters the results by books that have been checked out for more than 14 days, which are in our system classified as overdue books. This is why we were able to set it earlier to 50 days, and that would count as an overdue book. Our next one is going to be place hold. This one allows us to place a hold by checking if the patron already has a hold on that particular book. If the patron has already placed a hold, the procedure gives an error message saying, hey, you already have a hold in this book. You can't place another one. It takes in the ISBN and the library card number so we know who put the hold on it and the book that they're placing the hold onto. Next up, view book holds. It's basically just grabbing the patron, the name, the date that was held, and then library or card ID. So basically, it just allows us to kind of concatenate our data together so we can see easily who has a hold on any individual book that we want to see. Remove hold. Kind of as the name suggests, we're going to remove a hold placed on a patron by a book. It checks the library card ID and the ISBN. It's going to say, okay, we're going to remove this hold for you. We need both the ISBN and the library card ID. Otherwise, we're going to remove all the holds for that book, which isn't what we want to do. So we're going to need both of those. If we try to call this when there's no hold on the book, it's going to throw an error, basically saying that no hold exists on this book. That's kind of like letting the librarian know that there's nothing on there. Setup login is what we use to actually set up our input key. This one basically just takes in the ISBN and the input key that we want to do, and then we're going to insert it. If there is a login key already and they try to insert another one, it's going to throw an error and say, like, hey, they already have one. That's why we have change pin down here. Change pin is going to take in the library card ID, the old input pin, and the new input pin. We actually ran into this issue, quote-unquote issue, during our demo, where if you try to do it and it's the old incorrect pin, it's going to throw an error and say, hey, this was not the correct pin, try again. If you do it correctly, though, it's going to update the set pin to the new input pin and correctly update your information for you. That's that. Finally, we have get all books with availability. This is our procedure that we are allowing us to see every single book in our system that's available. I actually think I didn't use this one. I think I used our view instead. So let's actually jump right into the view. The view is what we end up using instead of this stored procedure, that they actually act pretty similarly. Essentially, this is grabbing a list of all available books inside of our database. It's using this with a select statement, so it's pulling data from several different tables. It's grabbing from the book table, the book title, the ISBN, the age rating, the cost, the available, and the quantity. It's grabbing from book genre. It's grabbing the genre table, and finally, it's grabbing from book author. It's grabbing the author essentially that's tied to this book. It's going to concatenate onto itself to basically show everything within the same table. That way, the librarian can easily see kind of everything she needs to know about each available book. And that is our view. Thanks so much for watching. That is my demo.